So welcome back to the Hardware Hub. In this video I'm showing a fast $800 gaming PC. This can easily max out games at 1080p and it can do some mid-range gaming at 1440p as well. In addition to that, it's going to be great for pretty much everything else you throw at it, like streaming, video editing, and things like web browsing. Before I start, I would like to quickly mention I have links to everything in the description, so check those out if you're interested. But with that out of the way, let's get right into it. Now to start off this build, let's talk about the CPU, which is the AMD Ryzen 5 3600 for $194. This is a 6-core 12-thread CPU that comes clocked at 3.6 GHz with a boost clock of 4.2 GHz. It's based on the Zen 2 architecture, so you know you're getting the latest from AMD. This is definitely a strong CPU for gaming, and it actually beats equivalent i5 CPUs when clock speeds are the same. Now this might not be able to hit the 5 GHz overclock that a lot of Intel CPUs can hit, but it can definitely be pushed to 4.2 or maybe even 4.3 GHz on all cores, which will give you some very good performance. In productivity workloads like video editing and things like running virtual machines, this can easily handle those tasks as well because it has 12 threads and the cores are pretty strong. At this price point, this CPU is pretty much the best option out there. Now to cool the CPU, I decided to throw in an aftermarket cooler, which is the Deepcool GAMMAXX 400 for $20. Now I know the Ryzen 5 comes with a stock cooler, but it's definitely not the best because it's pretty noisy and it's not going to keep your temperatures very low. With this aftermarket cooler, you can get lower temperatures and lower noise levels, and you'll also probably be able to get a tiny bit more overclocking headroom. For $20, I'd say it's worth it, but if you do need to save the money, then you can easily make this build without this aftermarket cooler. Now to house the CPU, we're going to need a pretty nice motherboard, and that's why I went with the MSI B450M PRO-VDH Max for $84. This has 4 RAM slots, 4 SATA ports, and an M.2 slot. Since this is a Max series motherboard, you're not going to have to update the BIOS to make it compatible with the 3000 series from AMD. And that's a pretty nice feature because BIOS updates can brick a motherboard, so not having to do that is definitely good to have. Besides that, this motherboard can also allow you to overclock since this is a B-series motherboard, and it should have enough slots to allow for some RAM and storage expansion in the future. Altogether, you're getting a pretty feature-filled motherboard at a nice price point. Now for the RAM, we have nothing special, it's just the Patriot Viper 16GB set for $55. This is a dual channel kit that comes clocked at 3000 MHz. High clock speeds and multi-channel memory is pretty important these days, especially with Ryzen, so it's nice to go with a kit like this. The 16GB capacity this has is not going to really limit you in anything you do, like gaming, multitasking, or even things like 1080p video editing, so I'd say it's a perfect fit for this PC. Now for the storage, we have both an SSD and a hard drive. For the SSD, we have the 512GB ADATA SU800 for $58. The SSD is going to be there for your OS and all of your applications. The 512GB capacity can also hold a couple of your most played games as well, so if you play a couple of games a lot, or if you play a certain game that has really long loading times, I'd recommend you putting it on your SSD to save some time. Now the major benefit with SSDs is speed and reliability. Anything that you put on your SSD is going to have better loading times, and the SSD has a lower chance of failure, so I'd recommend you put your important files on the SSD as well. For $58, this is a nice addition to this PC, and it'll definitely make it snappier overall. Now obviously 512GB is not enough storage. That's why I threw in a 2TB Seagate Barracuda hard drive for $50. Now as you might think, this hard drive is going to be for your mass storage, so it's going to store all of your games and large media files. The 2TB capacity should be enough for even large Steam libraries, and in the future if you ever need more storage, you can always add in another storage drive later. But this Seagate drive serves the mass storage needs for this PC at a pretty low price per gigabyte. Now your graphics card is probably one of the most important selections for your PC because it's going to really determine what your gaming performance is going to be like. For this PC, I chose the Asus GTX 1660 for $220. Nvidia is really the only good option at this price point. With this card, you get 6GB of VRAM, which is a great amount for 1080p maxed out gaming and should be enough for some mid-range 1440p gaming. It would have been nice to see 8GB of VRAM, but I don't think that 6GB of VRAM is really going to be that limiting. Now besides that, the heatsink I found on this card is not the greatest, but it should keep temperatures low and should let you get a somewhat decent overclock. For the price, this is really a great 1080p and 1440p gaming card. Now to house all these components, we have the Phanteks P300 for $60. This is easily one of my all-time favorite cases since it looks so nice and is built with premium materials, all for a pretty affordable price point. Now $60 is definitely not low end when it comes to prices, but it's definitely not as high as some other cases on the market, which can go upwards of $100. Now this case comes with a tempered glass side panel and it has a PSU shroud. Cable management should not be an issue as there's plenty of room behind the motherboard and the PSU shroud gives you space to shove the extra cables. Building inside this will also be nice as there's plenty of room and the cable routing holes are pretty well spaced out. This case also comes with a few different colors, so you can pick whichever color you like most, or you can go with the cheapest one like I did in this PC. Altogether with this you're getting a great looking case for a mid-range price point. And last but not least, for the power supply, I went with the EVGA BQ 600 watt power supply for $65. Now power supplies are definitely something you don't want to cheap out on, because a cheap power supply that fails can not only leave you with a dead power supply, but it can also kill one of your other components like a graphics card or a motherboard, which would mean that the money you saved from going with a cheap power supply is not going to be enough to cover the amount of money you lose from all the broken components that you now have. But rest assured, this is definitely a nice power supply. This one has an 80+ bronze rating and is made by EVGA, which is definitely one of the highest end brands out there for power supplies. This PSU is also semi-modular, which means that you can pretty much take out any extra cables that you don't need, or you can install your custom cables to customize this PC. The 600 watt capacity also means that you have room to upgrade your CPU and GPU down the line, which is pretty nice. There's not much more to say about this. It's a reliable unit that gets the job done for this PC. Now after seeing all those parts, you're probably wondering, how will this perform? Well, in the latest games, it can play them at 1080p ultra settings without an issue, and it can even dive into some 1440p gaming as well. If you're playing lighter games like League of Legends or Overwatch, you can easily max those out at 1440p with around 60fps. This PC is definitely a great option for both 1080p and 1440p gamers. Now if you have any questions about this PC or PC building in general, please leave a comment down below and I'll help you down there. Also, I want to mention once again I have links to everything in the description, so check those out if you're interested. But yeah guys, that's all for today. If you liked the video, please be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, please dislike the video and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.